Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, I was joined by two members of the Franchise Tag podcast in Steelers fan Freddie Hall, Jets fan Jonny Bisby, as we preview week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. Freddie discusses the Jets defense with Jonny ahead of their two teams meeting in week 1.
I think your defense is very good, Jonny, but it did show cracks last season.
Jonny does not hold a lot of confidence in the Cleveland Browns.
I fully expect there to be a few surprises this weekend. I just can't put, I can't stake on the Cleveland Browns.
As the three of us take part in a new segment called Andy versus the Guest. Hope you all enjoy.
Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, Andy.
Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis, and week 1 is now upon us. And today's episode, we're going to preview the week 1 NFL season and predict the winners of each game. Now, with me, I've got two returning guests, two well-known friends who also support teams who are playing each other this weekend. Now, our first guest is a returning guest from the Franchise Tag podcast. We've got Steelers fan Freddie Hall. Freddie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. I was considering cancelling your appearance after hearing your slagging off of the Dolphins in your AFC preview on your podcast. It's having to head out on the bus home was not getting me too excited about the season.
Oh, you heard that, did you? Oh, well, it's nice to know we have listeners. That's nice. Or people who watch it. Yeah, I'm not overly positive on the Miami Dolphins. I apologise. I'm positive on you, though, Andy. So that's the important thing.
I'll take that. It can't be both. Got to be one or the other. So swings and roundabouts. I actually think we're going to surprise a lot of people. There will be a TikTok video coming out probably before this podcast is published. I do think we're going to surprise, if everyone stays healthy, which is a big if. I do think we're going to surprise a fair few people. Our other guest is also part of the Franchise Tag podcast. Back with us today is Jets fan Jonny Bisby. Jonny, how are you?
Andy, Freddie, thank you very much for having me on. Can't wait to get back into the groove of things. A few days now until the season gets up again. So, yeah, all very excited.
You know what as well, I have a colleague in work who she's also into the NFL, and there was times where we go 10 more Sundays, 9 more Sundays, and it just felt weird today in work, just saying one more Sunday. It just felt like that's just flown by. I mean, it is the longest off season of any sport, I think, but at the same time, it does seem to I think once you have the draft done, once you get the bit of the free agency done, it just seems to, I think as soon as training camp hits, I think that's when it just flies by the rest of the off season. And now we're here preparing for week 1.
It's absolutely crept up. I think the summer's just flown by, and now we've got the Premier League back, F1's returned from its summer break, and the NFL. I can't believe it's been, it feels like yesterday that we were watching the Eagles absolutely demolish the Chiefs. But let's see what storylines I think come out from Thursday night and over the next few weeks.
And of course, with the season coming up, of course, those in the UK know what goes on. The London Games, the international series, we'll all be going to those events. We hope to be. So we'll all be meeting up, I'm sure, during those events. But let's get into our predictions now. This year, we're doing a slightly different format to the previous years when it comes to our week previews. Whereas before, it was a case where everyone just came on, they gave their predictions, and you had an overall tally. And there ended up being an overall leaderboard at the end of the season, and someone was crowned the winner of our predictions table. But I felt like I had to change it because there's some weeks where they have less games because of bye weeks. So now we're doing a new segment called Andy versus the Guest. So in this segment, from now on, I'll be going up against whether it's one guest or two guests. And whoever has the most points, whether it's me or the guest, gets a point. At the end of the season, we'll find out whether I've had more points than the guest or the guest has beaten me in these challenges. And we start off in week 1 with a Thursday night game with the reigning champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, raising the banner as they host the Dallas Cowboys, who are now, within the last week, without Micah Parsons after a trade to the Packers. We'll go for guests first, and we'll go for Freddie Hall. Freddie, Eagles or the Cowboys? Who's winning?
So is it me and Jonny v you? do me and Jonny get to collaborate on your demise?
Yeah, I've not worked out whether it's going to be the guests combined for score or whether it's a case where it is two separate scores competing against one. I've not worked that out yet. I need to work it out in the next few days. But for now,
I don't want to let Jonny down either.
This is quite it's quite a formidable team if it is so.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
For the balance of fairness,
Don't want to put pressure on you.
Yeah, I kind of think do I just go taking turns, but then I want to get you both on to predict the Steelers Jets game together. So maybe it'll just be a case where whoever gets the most point, whether it's Freddie, whether it's Jonny, or whether it's me, will get the point overall. So we'll do it that way. So we'll give you both a chance to predict each game. Eagles Cowboys.
Fly, Eagles, fly. They are going to kick on just like they did last season. The Cowboys now, like you said about Micah Parsons, I am not hot on this Dallas team at all, really, for this season. And I think the Eagles, though, now have a target on their back. This is an easy win for them. It's at the Link as well in Philadelphia. Yeah, this is a fairly easy win, I think, here. I think Dallas might not score a touchdown in this game.
I think they'll score. I think as long as if you got CD Lamb and George Pickens, you're going to score points. Now that's not good enough to get them into the top two of the NFC East. I think third or fourth is what they're going to be, but I don't think they're going to be. I think even with Parsons, they would have probably struggled to break down the Commanders and Eagles, and certainly break down the Eagles in this game. So I've got the Eagles winning as well. Jonny, clean sweep.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to bet against the Eagles. I think I'll talk a bit more about the Cowboys because it's been a whirlwind, last few weeks for the organisation, which obviously culminated in Micah Parsons leaving the team. And, without getting into the nitty gritty of that, it's just that trade has put so much pressure on Dak Prescott. I think it's actually, probably a make or break year for him, despite, getting a contract in the last couple of years. With Jerry now seemingly, open to completely resetting as such in trading away his superstars. I think Dak has to perform, the pressure is well and truly on. But I can't see anything other than an Eagles victory. Coming off obviously the informed team, having won the Super Bowl, and I can't see their hangover starting on Thursday night. So Eagles win for me.
I mean, the Link is formidable at the best of times, let alone the first game after winning the Super Bowl. The crowds can be so up for it, and they're the best team of the two anyway. So I think this is going to be... I found this one of the easier ones to predict of the entire slate for this week. And I think as well, there's not many teams that have actually lost the first game when they're the reigning champions. I think the Chiefs did a couple of years ago. The Patriots did. Might have been against the Chiefs or Texans a few years ago. But, most times, 9 times out of 10, the team who are the reigning champions often go on and win this game. Next up, the following day, we have our annual Brazil game as the Chiefs do travel to Brazil, as do the Chargers. Chargers are the home team. And I do think I'm giving the win to the Chargers on this one. I think not only are they a neutral venue, but also the Chiefs sometimes take a few weeks to settle in. And I just think the Chargers... They've got that neutral venue. They haven't got the disadvantage of having, probably even at SoFi, more Chiefs fans and Chargers fans. I think at a neutral venue, they're both having to travel. The Chiefs notoriously start a bit slow. I'm going to give the Chargers the win on this game. Jonny, who wins it for you, Chiefs or Chargers?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think people are I know Freddie's been quite hot on the Chargers recently. So I think with all the not negativity around the Chiefs, but obviously with all the hype around Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, a lot of noise around that, whether he's going to carry on playing. There's a lot of pressure on Mahomes after the disaster that happened in the Super Bowl. I think it's a little bit of a coin flip, but I quite like the Chargers as well in this game to win. A bit of a shootout. We'll go with the Chargers as well to cause a bit of an upset.
Freddie, how are you seeing it?
Jonny, you've dug me out of being really in on the Chargers, so it feels like I have to go to the Chargers. But I'm not going to go to the Chargers. I am going to go to the Chiefs. I would even go like 24-20, like something really close. I don't think it's a blowout. I think it'll be a good high scoring game, but both these defenses are really good. I just think that the Chiefs, for them, yeah, they can start slow, but for me, it's just got written like one of them games that, yeah, it is a coin flip. It could go either way. It'll be really, really competitive, and yet the Chiefs come out on top again, and maybe undeservedly as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, anything like last season, they'll be winning games where maybe they don't deserve to, and they win games, by the scruff of their necks. So, yeah, the Chiefs, one of only 4 teams last season to not score 30 points or more in any game in a regular season. But lo and behold, they made the Super Bowl. So, they're different beats at times. They're a different beast at times, I should say. Sometimes, it's they seem to have the black magic going in their favour. But we'll move on to our first of the 6 p.m. slate. It is the Falcons hosting the Bucks. Jonny, who wins it for you?
So yeah, I think the form team, or one of the form teams at the end of last year, were the Buccaneers, and I think a lot of people, a lot of pundits, and executives from across the league said they had a really, really successful draft, and really built around their talent that they already have. Michael Penix, we saw what in glimpses what he could do at the back end of last year. Well, his stats aren't incredible in terms of, I think it was 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in the couple of games that he started at the back end of last year. So really intriguing to see what the Falcons are like. I think is Penix going to be as good as the Falcons think he is, and to justify the such an early draft pick money from last year? I think that is the main talking point. But for me, I'm going to go for the experience and the quality. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have, and I can see them winning by perhaps even 2 scores in this one.
And Freddie?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think the Bucs have more experience, better quality players, and though I think Penix can play, we don't really know what we've got with him yet. And yeah, now he's had a full off season as the starter. It's probably going to look better, but the Bucs, I think, they've just got more talent around the field. I still don't trust this Falcons defense just yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bucs they were my pick to win the NFC South in our predictions episode. I just feel like I'm not convinced on Penix yet. It's a small sample size. I haven't seen enough to really warrant any true judgment, but I've not seen anything yet that makes you think he's going to guide the Falcons to win this division or even win a playoff game. Obviously, this season we'll know the real Penix. Fun fact, one of only 2 quarterbacks who start in the NFL to be a left-hander. But no, I think the Bucs, with Baker Mayfield, how he's been playing the last couple of years, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans on probably one last year where he's going to be at his best. Defense is fairly solid as well. So for me, I think week 1 is a week where things can happen that don't really reflect the rest of the season. I think there's some results you get in week 1 or week 2 when teams are trying to find their groove. The one, especially nowadays, where teams don't have players, the starters don't play preseason games as much. So I think there's definitely a world where the Falcons do win and maybe still lose the division by quite a while, but because of week 1. But no, I think even in Atlanta, I think the Bucs will get the job done. The next game is the Battle of Ohio as the Browns host the Bengals. First shock of the episode, I'm going for the Browns to win this game. Now, this is going to be... Everyone's going to think, what the hell is Andy talking about? Why has he gone for the Browns to win this game?
Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, Andy.
Wow. 1. I just mentioned it then. I just think the Bengals also notoriously, they start really badly to seasons. And I just think that, do you remember a few years ago, the Jags, they won their first game with Gardner Minshew, and then they didn't win any games. I can't think what the streak was, but they lost a lot of games after winning the first week. And I just think the Browns are going to win this first game. Joe Flacco is going to start off well, but then it's going to sort of peter apart and fall apart the next 5-6 weeks. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the Browns as almost my shock of the week, I would say, if we're doing that kind of category. I just think, the Browns are going to get it done week 1, and maybe they'll lose the next 9 games after that. Freddie, who are you seeing in this one?
I do not see that at all. I see the Bengals really beating the Cleveland Browns. I think this offense is going to be so dysfunctional and just not okay. Which is quite funny because I think the Bengals defense is probably not going to be. It's probably going to be the exact same as it was last season as well. So actually, if this was a high-scoring team, it'd be a bit of a shootout maybe. Because the Browns have some good guys on their defense. But this is Joe Burrow we're talking about. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all there. I like Chase Brown as well. They've improved. I think, yeah. I wouldn't go, this is a blowout win, but even the Bengals last season, even you said they started slow. Yeah, they started slow. They lost some games, but they were scoring 30 plus points. They just couldn't defend anything. And it's not like in this game they're going to need to defend anything because it's going to be so terrible for the Browns offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one thing: the Patriots won 4 games all year long last year, and they beat the Bengals in week 1. So I think it's in Cleveland as well. It's not in Cincinnati. I just think that, yeah. I think it could happen. But Jonny, what are you thinking? Are you thinking the same as me or the same as Freddie?
I appreciate your point, Andy. I think I think it was the Patriots last year who beat the Bengals the first game, which took us all by surprise. I just think, as Freddie's alluded to, the dysfunctionality around the quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns. I think we're going to see perhaps 2, even 3 quarterbacks start for the Cleveland Browns this year, given that Joe Flacco is getting older, and you could see the regression from him. We're a few years from his his saving grace year for the Browns. But I think the Bengals are too good. I fully expect there to be a few surprises this weekend. I just can't put I can't stake on the Cleveland Browns being one of them, because I think they unfortunately their offense is looking very weak. But the Bengals themselves have obviously locked down Chase and Higgins over the last year or so, and Joe Burrow, coming off that year, I think he could go even further and completely explode with new coaching staff and new players around them. I think the Bengals are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL this year. So I can't see a surprise. I think the Bengals will win comfortably on Sunday.
Yeah, you both probably are right. It probably is a long shot. I'd love to know what the odds are of the Browns winning the game. I'm not a betting man because I normally lose, but I think maybe I'll delve into, maybe put a cheeky $5 on a Browns win, and maybe we'll see what I get back. Now, next up is a game involving my team, the Dolphins, as they travel to the Indianapolis Colts. Jonny, we'll take with you. Who's winning this game for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there is a fair bit of, I think, unjustly for the Dolphins. Perhaps there hasn't been, as many. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey left, and you brought back Fitzpatrick, but I don't think there's been, a real significant rise or demise within the team. I think you've pretty much stayed where you are in terms of expectations, which is fairly middle of the road. I think the Dolphins, unfortunately, that's just on paper. But I think, again, with the Colts and their quarterback position, they're obviously starting Daniel Jones. I think we've seen reports of there being, perhaps a little bit of dysfunctionality and uncertainness within the rest of the squad about Jones's ability to start, and the future of the team with Jones over Richardson. So I think, given the noise in Indy, and I think I think on offense, particularly the quality that the Dolphins have, if Tua can stay fit, that's the main question. I think on every Dolphins fan. Well, I'm sure, Andy, this year I think they'll be in a decent spot to push to make the playoffs. So I'll take the Dolphins here in a game between two franchises. I think that need to prove a point a little bit over the first few weeks of the season.
Joe, it's nice to hear someone from the Franchise Tag podcast being positive about the Dolphins. didn't hear that too much in their AFC East preview. No, yeah, I think we're winning as well. I think it's a good opponent to have in your first game. I don't think the Colts are going to do too much. I don't think this season. I think that I mentioned it in the season preview episode. I think like a team you've got, if everyone stays healthy, you've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon A-Chain, Austin Jackson at tackle. That's a good core right there. And obviously, Tua, when he does play, we are competitive. I think we would have made the playoffs potentially if we had to for the Seahawks game, for the Colts game. Then on defense, secondary is going to get a bit exposed this season, but Fitzpatrick will offer something to that secondary. But the defense, the defensive front, you've got Chop Robinson, Jada Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Kenneth Grant drafted this year. There's probably more I've forgotten about, but there's some good players, and they've all got injury history. That's
the thing, isn't it? I think you generally do have one of the, with the players you've mentioned, have one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. It's just whether or not you can stay healthy, and I think that's just the long-standing issue with probably the entirety of this team. But yeah, I certainly think you're not lacking in quality in areas. Put it that way.
Freddie, is it a clean sweep for the Dolphins?
I severely disagree with so much of what both of you just said, but this team's going to tease everybody with winning this game because you are going to be fully healthy. You are right. You are going to be fully healthy, and I think there is a lot of dysfunctionality at the Colts as well. I actually equally think that you are both equally not very good. But I think the Dolphins will win this, and it will be look, we won that first game. Then injuries will happen. Mike McDaniel will do a load of weird stuff where it's kooky and it's not funny anymore. It's just weird, and it will then just all crumble. Unfortunately, that's just how I feel about it. That's just how I see it as the Dolphins. You guys say depth and quality. I see players that are unproven and huge question marks, to be honest with you. But I think like you both said, for a lot of these fixtures, there's going to be probably teams that win these games that you maybe you don't think are going to win them, I suppose. And I think some people will favour the Colts heavily in this game because I think they do have more of a depth of talent, but I don't think their pool is very deep. Neither is Miami's. And I think, like you said, if I would give Miami the win for this one because I also think the wheels will fall off the Colts as well. And I've literally just come off of the Franchise Tag podcast talking about similar things with the Colts and Dolphins, and we were looking at where the wins are, and I think you could debate for both of these teams will win here, but I think the Dolphins will win this one actually.
And sticking with you, Fred, for our next game, which involves one of our friends from your show, Sky's team, the Patriots, as they host the Las Vegas Raiders. Freddie, who wins this for you?
I'm really on the Patriots this year. I think they will get to the playoffs. I think they'll get to the playoffs and they might even win a playoff game. I think that they're going to do really well this season, I think. But on the flip side of that, again, it's a little bit like the Colts Dolphins game where I'm like, well, they're going to win. One of them's going to win a game at some point. I think the Raiders will be okay this season. I don't think they're going to be bad. So I think they might edge this game just because I trust Geno Smith more than I do Drake May. However, I'm really excited about seeing Ashton Genty. This actually, when we were talking about week one earlier, again on our show, I said this game actually sticks out as being one I really, really, really want to watch because it's got so many interesting factors in it of Drake May, 2 new head coaches, but coaches that we've not seen in a moment. You've got Ashton Genty, you've got Max Crosby, you've got some big players on defense. Like this is actually a really, really fun matchup. And I think it's a little bit like Raiders will win this game. They go, oh, well, we've got something going on here. And I don't think they're quite going to have something going on just yet. And I think people might go, oh, the Patriots, oh, no, I don't, maybe it's not going to work out from them. They go, and actually it will. It'll be completely fine for them. They'll win games later down in the schedule. So I think it's one of them games where one's fan base will start to panic and one fan base will get probably ahead of its skis, and then both fan bases are going to get reined back in further down the season. So I'll give the Raiders. It'll be a close game. It'll be a fun game though. I really am looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I genuinely found this probably the hardest game to predict out of all the games. I think it's two teams with new head coaches, new playbooks to get used to. So yeah, I'll get onto my prediction in a minute. But Jonny, what are you predicting for this game?
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I think I will take the Raiders just purely because I think they have upgraded more significantly. I think than the Raiders than the Patriots. I think the one big issue for both teams still is depth. If you look at the teams, can you name more than two wide receivers on both of their teams? I think and that's and we're talking not just within those positions. They have both fairly young squads now, I think, but very exciting players have been added over the last couple of years to both teams. I think Mike Vrabel is a brilliant, the return of him to New England. I'm just very excited to see what Pete Carroll can do, and Chip Kelly as well. A creative, proven offensive coordinator with a genuinely good quarterback and offensive talent. I think the Raiders can cause a couple of upsets this year. And yeah, Ashton Jeanty was the player to watch outside of Travis Hunter in college football last year. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Raiders in. Yeah, again, a bit of a coin flip game. Very hard to predict, but yeah, exciting. I think exciting times for both these franchises after a difficult few years.
I've gone for the Raiders as well. It's a clean sweep for them. As I said before, I found it really hard to predict because of both teams having new coaches and new schemes to sort of work with. I just kind of have an image in my head of Ashton Jeanty having one of these all-time rookie debuts. I do think the Patriots will win more games in the season. I think the Raiders will be maybe the best performing fourth place team in any division. But I think their division's way too hard. But I think the Patriots will have more wins in the season because I do really rate Mike Vrabel highly. But I think in this game, it's the week one factor. I just think, I can just picture Ashton Jeanty going off and introducing himself to the NFL world. Next up, though, is the game between the New Orleans Saints as they host the Arizona Cardinals. For this one, we're going back to Freddie and Freddie. So I know, Jonny, who's winning this game for you?
So one of these teams is a team I think I've been high on for the last couple of years, and it's not worked out. That being the Arizona Cardinals, and the other I think is the team I'm probably most concerned about being the New Orleans Saints. So I'm going for a Cardinals victory purely on the basis of talents. I think the big concern is what Spencer Rattler can do. He's obviously won the position to start a quarterback for the Saints this year, but we saw how inconsistent and a real lack of quality in his play at the back end of last year. I think the Cardinals have massively improved on defense and across the roster. Really, I think obviously Josh Sweat and Walter Nolan were the big additions on that defensive line, and I think man for man they probably have more quality around the board. So intrigued to see what the Saints will do, but on paper and all the noise has been fairly negative. They've spent very highly on a quarterback who can't beat out a rookie who really struggled last year. And I think in the NFL that is the most important or most significant thing to determine the success of the team. So I'm going for a Cardinals victory fairly comfortably in this one.
Yeah, me too. I love the Josh Sweat addition. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, off-season addition for any team. I thought he was really good for Eagles. I think he'll add a lot for this Cardinals team. And I think the Saints, they were my pick to have the first overall pick next season in our predictions episode. I just think they're not good at all. They've got Cam Jordan, who's way past his prime. Kamara maybe one of the bright sparks, maybe him and Olave, but I don't rate Spencer Rattler one bit, and I've never really seen Tyler Shock play. So for me, the Saints team are going to be really bad. Could be a week one situation where they win and don't win again for a while, like I said earlier with the Browns. But yeah, I just think the Cardinals are going to be a bit too strong. You think of James Conner, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride on the offense. Kyler Murray sort of does generally throughout his career has performed better in the early stages of the season. So yeah, give me the Cardinals to win this game. Fred, clean sweep.
Oh, it's just such a trash game. Like it's just not fun, is it? Like it's just not. Like the Cardinals aren't even fun either. Like they're not. Like no one runs to the telly to watch the Cardinals, and no one's running, let alone to a TV. They're just full stop not running to see the Saints. It's the worst game of the weekend in my head for me personally, because you could say the Panthers Jags game is, but it isn't for me because I'm really big on watching Bryce Young. Yeah, Arizona win this very easily, very, very easily win this. New Orleans are a complete tire fire, might potentially not win a game all year. That's how bad I think it could be.
Wow. Well, let's head to the main event as the Steelers take on the Jets, which of course is both your teams involved here. This is the Sky Sports game. It's an amazing. It's definitely, Sky Sports is definitely. Sorry, the NFL have definitely planned this, but you've got not only Aaron Rodgers against his former team, you've got Justin Fields against his former team. You've got the new head coach in Aaron Glenn. You've got so many storylines in this game. I'm, as a neutral, very excited to see this one, how it unfolds. As will you guys, I'm sure, will be tuned in a lot to this game. Freddie, we'll go to you first. Who wins it for you?
Oh, obviously you brought me on this with a Jets fan to be like the Steelers are going to dominate and win. I genuinely have no idea. I actually genuinely have no idea. I'm going to pick the Steelers because I believe the quarterback is better. I believe Aaron Rodgers is better than Justin Fields. Very much, probably more, not as a big a gap as it maybe once was. But I think it's more for me that Aaron Glenn's the new head coach. That's going to take some time to adjust. Justin Fields is a new quarterback. That's going to take some time to adjust. I think your defense is very good, Jonny, but it did show cracks last season. And I think our defense is better at the minute, man for man. And I think we've gone all out here. I think Garrett Wilson's better than DK Metcalf. I think that Caleb Johnson has potential to be better than Breece Hall, but I think Breece Hall is very, very much a victim of recency bias. He's actually a very good running back. He just had a bit of a poor end of the season last season. I think people are mocking the Jets for how they've been in the last few seasons and the insecurity and the crazy things at quarterback and the coaches and stuff like that. And I think it's a joke that the Steelers fans can take the mickey out of the Jets organization, because I think the Steelers organization at the minute is being currently ran just as appallingly as the Jets organization is being ran. They are both not that great of franchises at the minute. But I think just the week one thing, I think we might just nick it. I can imagine it not being an exciting game. I can imagine this being maybe the dullest game of the week outside of the Saints Cardinals game. It might be a really dull game.
Interesting. Jonny, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think I'm not excited at all to watch this game because I think it's two teams who are, not being very similar in terms of, some of the styles they play. Or I think we have two very good-looking defenses. We have no idea what either offense is going to look like. I think, as a Jets fan, obviously I'm excited to see what Justin Fields can produce, but he and our passing attack are the biggest question marks. We've obviously locked down Garrett Wilson and a few players on defense as well. But I think the scheme, the RPO play action scheme, to obviously cater for Fields just makes me really nervous watching it. And I think having that come into my organization, which has been known to struggle, to have coaches that are able to combat and utilize the players that they have at the disposal. There's been a lot of noise in training camp from the Jets around inconsistencies around field. It's been an uncertain period for Breece Hall, as Freddie mentioned. He has suffered a bit of a regression last year, and there seems to be a bit more of a consensus around a committee and on that running game, with the likes of Brown and Isaiah Davis going into the new year. So that's a bit of a worry. I'm just very uncertain about what Jets we're going to see, and unfortunately, having watched them for so long, it usually ends in despair. So I'm going to have to stick with the Jets, though. I think that uncertainty, and with it being week one, anything could happen. I'm not going to back down, but I'm just not excited for this game. It's going to be a nervy one, but yeah, let's see what both teams can do and what they're made of this season.
I don't know about you, Jonny, but the headline will be the quarterbacks. But actually, my excitement is seeing Mason Taylor for you guys and Caleb Johnson for us. That's actually the one thing where I actually really want to see, because I think Mason Taylor's really good. I've also got him in a few fantasy leagues, so I'm wanting to see how good he is. And then Caleb Johnson for me, I'm obviously wanting to know how good he is. So that's the headline will be Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, but there's some context within this, and
absolutely. And I think DK is another big one. I think we could see him put up double figure touchdowns this year. I think he's, if Aaron Rodgers is going to succeed, he's going to be, the main guy downfield. So, I think a lot of talk about the quarterbacks, like you say, but I think the quality is elsewhere for both the teams.
Well, Freddie, you've gone for the Steelers. Jonny, you've gone for the Jets. Now, I've got the deciding vote here. Who's going to win this game? Who do I think is going to win this game? Steelers or Jets? I'm going for the Steelers. I just think when you've got, there's definitely a world I can see. I can picture Aaron Glenn getting a shot win, but I just think you've got a guy in his first ever game as a head coach against such an experienced guy like Tomlin. You've got Rodgers, who isn't the guy he was, but he still, was one of the top quarterbacks when it comes to yards and touchdowns last season, against a guy who hasn't done much as a quarterback yet, apart from maybe a few games here and there. So I think the Steelers are going to be, despite on the road, they're going to be the more experienced team. And I just think this might be a bit of a welcome to the NFL head coaching world moment for Aaron Glenn. Moving on, though, to our next game, which is in Washington, as the Commanders host the Giants. I'm going for a Commanders win. Now, I don't think the Commanders will go as far as they did last season. I'm not expecting them to go all the way to the title game, but the Giants team, who will be starting with Wilson, have got some good players on defense: Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau. I just don't think it's enough, particularly on the offensive side of things. So give me the Commanders to win. Next up is Freddie, Giants or Commanders?
We've talked about a few upset wins, but I don't think we're going to see this as an upset win later down the line. I'm going to have the Giants here. I think the Giants might come out and win this. I think, I don't think the Giants are. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year, but I think we're going to see a bit of an improvement from the Giants this season. I think this defense is very good, like a lot better than people maybe make out. And you named them edge rushers and the defensive line. I mean, you said about, you talk about depth and talent for Miami. The Giants are way in front of you for depth and talent in terms of the defensive line. But they are. You've just named Kayvon Thibodeau's the third one, who's a really good edge rusher, like Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. And then behind, they've got an ex-player of yours in Javon Holland. They've strengthened up with Paulson Adebo. I think the Commanders are still going to be good. They are going to be good, but they are going to take a step back. Their defense is still a little shaky. It didn't add loads to it over the offseason. And then offensively wise, I'm not sure about their running game. Eckler and then this new rookie, he's got he's got a triple name. His surname's double barreled, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. They got rid of Brian Robinson. Yes, Jane Daniels is your runner, but you can't. You like, it works in Buffalo, but Josh Allen's a way bigger body. and he's got James Cook. Lamar Jackson has got Derrick Henry. I don't think Austin Eckler and this player equates. Brian Robinson, when he was there, that was a good tandem. I don't think this equates then Jaden Daniels being able to run a bit more. And Terry McLaurin, one of the most underrated receivers, I think, going. Deebo Samuel, I hope he's fit enough, but he's so unpredictable and wild with his fitness. And they did lose De'Ami Brown, who was pretty good last year for the Commanders as well. It will be a little bit of a shock to the system win for New York and for Washington, but ultimately their seasons will end the same as I think most people think. The Giants will do fairly okay. The Commanders will definitely be fine, but they'll take a little bit of a step back.
And Jonny?
Yeah, I agree with the Commanders. I think I don't know. There were parts last year where they had to ride the luck, and that was brilliant because Jaden Daniels was superb, but particularly in likes of the Bears game. I know obviously they played so well against the Lions, but there were parts around the way where they had to sort of ride the luck. And I think looking at the fixtures, they have quite a good set of fixtures this year, so I think they'll be fine. But I'm not going to put them in the category of contenders yet. I still think they'll win this game, win it fairly comfortably. I think the biggest question for the Giants is whether their offense can score enough. Russell Wilson, watching him in a couple of preseason games, throwing a couple of picks, and there was clear lack of not communication, but some of the receivers weren't on the same wavelengths as Wilson. Obviously, it's preseason. A lot of these starters weren't playing, but I think early on we need to see. Otherwise, there is going to be a change. I think fairly quickly. You've got three. Two very experienced quarterbacks and a rookie who's been hyped up a lot. If there isn't early success, I think that will change a lot. Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing Abdul Carter. This defensive front is insane. What the Giants have put together. I think he's probably the consensus pick for Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, I think the way that they win is obviously to get to Daniels in the rush. But yeah, I think the Commanders just have enough. But there might be some later questions a bit further down the line.
Well, let's head to our final lot of the 6 p.m. games as the Jacksonville Jaguars host the Carolina Panthers. Freddie, who wins it for you?
Again, not probably that interesting a game for many people. I'm going to go with Carolina purely really because I want Bryce Young to do really well this year. That's pretty much about it. And I think the Jags, they're going to take a minute, I think, get him going with their new coach in Liam Cohen. So I take the Panthers, not by much. It could be a field goal to win it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very even game. I feel like both teams are sort of in somewhat similar positions. I think the Jags are a bit more advanced in that development than the Panthers, maybe, certainly quarterback-wise. But I do feel like it is a coin flip. You could make a legitimate case for both these teams winning. But I have also gone for the Panthers. I just think that, again, I think I'm basing a lot of mine on who's got the new head coach or a new quarterback. And I just feel like it's a new system for the Jags and Liam Cohen, and I just think that it may take them. I think with the Panthers already set, they haven't lost any coordinators this year in Carolina. You've got Dave Canales there in his third year as head coach. Bryce Young, we saw a lot of improvement, second half of the season last year, post-Germany game. And I just think that whilst I'm picking Jags winning more games in 2025, I just feel like for this game, with just getting used to a new system, their first game all playing together properly with a new head coach, give me the Panthers. Jonny, how are you seeing it?
I just can't wait to see what Travis Hunter can do on either side of the ball. And I think I'm going to pick the Panthers based on what we saw last year. And I think that the Panthers, massive strength, I think, coming into this year is having everyone fit on offense, particularly on their offensive line. Chuba Hubbard was a sensational revelation last year. helped them to so many points, and they've obviously got Dowdle as well, and a bit of a committee hopefully this year. And I think the run defense for the Jaguars was a major concern. But I want Bryce Young to do so well, but I would like to see some playmaking ability, particularly for this on defense for the Jaguars team, which feels like it doesn't create enough on that side of the ball. It's another game which I think the spectacle comes away from the quarterback. Really look forward to seeing Hunter. But I like Chuba Hubbard a bit too much, so I'll pick the Panthers to win this one.
We'll move on to our latest slate, and the first lot of games at 9:05 sees the Broncos host the Titans. Fred, back with you. Who wins it for you?
The Broncos. I like what Cam Ward might do for the Tennessee Titans this season, but it's a rookie quarterback coming up against one of the best defenses in the league. Like it's going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely fine. Bo Nix was incredible at the back end of last year. Put himself in that contention to be offensive rookie of the year. He didn't win it, and I think he should have done, but he definitely put himself in the headline to be considered for it. Yeah, it's a bad matchup for Tennessee week one to come against the Denver Broncos team, who are a really good team.
Jonny, do you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, the Broncos have got so much better after an impressive year last year. They could be, the ones to chase in the AFC West, not the Chiefs this year, because, they've really built around Bo Nix this season. They've added, more pass catching ability with Evan Ingram. They've revolutionized the running game with RJ Harvey in the draft, and J.K. Dobbins, who we know is an exceptional talent when he's fit. And I think the coaching ability of Sean Payton. I don't see this game as a worry. I think particularly for the points that Fred made. The Titans, I think particularly the coaching staff have a lot to prove. Brian Callahan coming into his second year with a new rookie quarterback. This is who he wanted. He's got to make it prove, because the Titans were disastrous last year. I think they have talent around the team. They've obviously they're building a decent offensive line. They have done over the last 2 to 3 years. Been able to protect Ward will be enormous and have a good run game. They've got Calvin Ridley. Okay, there's not much depth around him, but yeah, it's a bit of a point to prove year, I think, for everyone in Tennessee.
Yeah, I've got the Broncos winning as well. I just think this is going to be too much to try and overcome for first game for Cam Ward. I think he is a guy I think they should be really excited about in the years to come. I do think it'll be potentially a tough rookie year, just in terms of maybe not to do with his performances, but in terms of the win total. But you think about everything I've read about Cam Ward is really good. I mean, first of all, I think, in the draft itself, he was sort of in there, out of there really quickly. There was a whole stuff where, with the Shedeur Sanders video he did with him, where he sort of showed his professionalism there. And everything I've read about him since in recent days about is, in fact, he's getting up and he's there at 5 a.m. every day in team facilities. One of the last players to leave as well. It just feels like he's really locked into the NFL. He feels like NFL is his life and doesn't appear too flashy, doesn't seem to have much of an ego. And I do think that as a person, as a character, he's exactly the call that you want in your team. Now, that doesn't automatically translate to you're going to do well on the field. But I think certainly they've got the right guy there mentality-wise. But I just think in year one, where he hasn't got much help to throw to, you've got Ridley, as Jonny mentioned, you've got Chiga Okonkwo, tight end. Tony Pollard is half decent at running back. So there's some guys there, and we were saying similar things about Jane Daniels last year about, maybe a tough year for him, and he ended up proving everyone wrong. I don't think that'll be the same case with Ward, but I think certainly, for his whole career, he's one they should be excited about. But I think in week one, on the road against a really good defense, and for me personally, the best cornerback in the game in Patio II. I think the Broncos win this, and it's just one of the easy ones I found to predict. Next up, though, is the game in Seattle as the Seahawks host the 49ers. Jonny, back with you. Who wins it for you?
I'm going to go with the Seahawks in a very close game. Like say in Seattle, I think the biggest question mark is Sam Darnold, whether he can continue his the quality that he showed in Minnesota last year. I think the biggest strength for Seattle is their coordination on defense and continuing that coming into this year. McDonald's been a defensive guru while he's in Baltimore and in Seattle, and I think that can really break down a 49ers defense offense where there is quite a lot of question marks over. They've lost Deebo Samuel and Ayuk's injured, and Ricky Pearsall, is he going to be the main man with Jennings alongside him? Brock Purdy, obviously, he can he take his game to the absolute next level? And Christian McCaffrey, he's coming back from a long-term injury, back to the heights that he saw. There's certainly quality, the 49ers for years and years and years have been a team on paper who you'd expect to be, competing right at the top of the NFC. I think I just like the strength that the Seahawks have on defense. Certainly question marks, like I've said, on offense, but I think they have enough to get it done on home turf.
Yeah, I've gone for Seahawks as well. I actually think the Niners will win the division. They got a very favourable schedule this year. I believe it's the easiest strength of schedule in the whole of the league this year. But I just think week one, you've got players come back from injury. A lot of players have left the Niners as well in the off-season. So I don't think Sam Darnold will reach levels he did last year. I don't think we'll see the Vikings Darnold personally. I think that might have been a bit of a one-season wonder maybe for Darnold. But in terms of the Niners, I just think that, especially on the road in Seattle, it's a tough place to go. Even when they're not maybe at their best as they were maybe 10 years ago, I still think that it's a formidable place to go. And I just feel like the Niners will get their groove going in maybe weeks 2 or 3. But I think week one, I think they'll get off to a good start and the Seahawks will win this game. Fred, clean sweep?
Yeah, I think it is clean sweep. I think I love both the points that you've made with it all, really. I think, like you said, it's a hard place to go to Seattle. San Francisco, I still don't think we really know what's going on with them. We've also got to remember they lost a lot of their top-end defenders this offseason. They've still got guys like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, players of that caliber. But, yeah, wide receiver room's still a little thin over there. Yes, they got Christian McCaffrey back, but what are we going to expect from him? I agree that I think Darnold will be as sensational as he was, because I think when you've got a player like Justin Jefferson, that certainly helps when you're in Minnesota. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to need to do a lot this year to prove that he can be a number one. Cooper Kupp's no longer a one, unfortunately, and hopefully he can have a season where he stays fit for the whole of it. But it's a tough matchup. It's a tough matchup for the first week. But if it was in San Francisco, I'd maybe pick the 49ers, but I'm going to pick Seattle. Seems they're home.
Well, next up is our 9:25 game, and it involves one of the most talked about teams this week in the Packers, who did trade 2 firsts and Kenny Clark to get Micah Parsons. Now, this could be his debut. There's been a report today coming out of Adam Schefter that he's been dealing with a L4/L5 facet joint sprain in his back and may have to take a epidural injection prior to the game. He's hopeful to play in the opener. We could see him on limited snap count for this game, which I think even if he was playing, I would still back the Lions to win this game personally. But this Packers team has received an almighty boost in this past trade. We actually recorded the podcast, our predictions episode, before this news came out, but released it afterwards. So yeah, not really discussed it yet on the podcast, but I think this is a massive boost for the Packers. I think whilst I don't think there's quite enough weapons or X factors there to win in Super Bowls, I think certainly competing for NFC North, where you've got one team who's lost two coordinators and big parts of their team in Glenn and Johnson in Detroit. You've got a quarterback in Minnesota who will be playing his first season and coming back from a meniscus tear. There's a chance for them to try and get this division now from that trade. But I do think I'm torn because on the one hand, I think the Packers aren't as good as the Lions. But on the flip side, it's new coordinators. I'm going to go for the Lions. They are my NFC pick to win it. I do think they may take a few weeks to settle in with a new scheme. But I just think, it's that Lambeau Field as well. Oh, this is tough. I thought the hardest one to predict was Raiders Pats, but now I'm thinking about it. Maybe this is the hardest one. You know what? I'll go for my gut. I'll go for the Packers to win at Lambeau Field. I'll go for the home factor. Give me the Packers. Fred, Packers or Lions for you?
I am also very torn on this, and I actually want Detroit to go all the way to the Super Bowl. I would really enjoy that. I really like this Detroit team. I really believe in what they're doing over there. But I think you can't know what this team's going to be with now new coordinators. I think you just don't know what this team's going to be. So I'm going to trust with what I know at the minute, which is Green Bay. And I think they win. I think it'll be very close, though. It would not shock me if the Lions win this at all. But I'm just going to go with what I know, which is we don't know what Lions we're going to get this season with now disruption in their, I say disruption in their ranks, but two guys left and they've got two new guys in, and they're not that experienced either, two new coordinators. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers.
Jonny?
I will go for again. I'll pick the Lions, but yeah, this I think was one of the more difficult ones because I think I'm just so excited to watch both of them play. With the Packers, and I think some of their offensive additions I mentioned in Parsons. I think it's going to be a good year for them. I just think the Lions, as much as I hear the points about the coordinators, I think I trust the way that the sort of coaching recruitment has been over the last few years, particularly in Detroit. Two guys who I think, John Morton, particularly the new offensive coordinator, was so highly sought after this year. Spent time with the Lions before, and he's a coordinator for the Broncos that helped Bo Nix achieve what he did last year. And I think I'm hopeful that we can see a new level of Jared Goff this year. There's been loads of talk about Jameson Williams becoming the next massive thing in fantasy. And the players that they have around him as well are really exciting. Obviously with Montgomery, Gibbs, the players coming back. Hopefully with Aiden Hutchinson, and yeah, I think if the Lions can stay fit, I think they can. This again is talk, but I think they can go a long way again this year. So yeah, I think based on that, I think they can cause a little bit of an upset and maybe quieten the party up in Green Bay because it's been such an exciting week for them. But yeah, another close. I'm going to go for a big score. Like a 37-35 to Detroit for this one.
Well, moving on then to our next game, which is Texans traveling to the Rams. Now, it's been announced, as per Sean McVay, that Matt Stafford is expected to start in week one after dealing with a back injury this offseason. Now, going up first with Fred, who wins it for you, Texans or Rams?
I would go the Rams with this. I am very big on the Rams this year as well. I think they are a very, very, very good team. And I think the Texans, they've still got a little bit of building to do. They're not quite there just yet. And I like some of the moves that the Texans have done this offseason, but I love what the Rams are doing at the minute. So, yeah, definitely LA.
You know what? The Rams were my pick for the whole offseason in my head when I was thinking about when I do our predictions, start the season. I had in my head the whole time Chiefs against Rams, but I had reservations about Matt Stafford's back, and I do think that it's such a tough division if he's out for the first 3 or 4 weeks and he lose maybe 2 out of the 4, that could be the difference between winning the division and not winning the division and having the home advantage kind of playoffs. But I think if Stafford is fully healthy, I think the Rams could go all the way and win the NFC. I genuinely think that. You think about they got such a big range of young defensive studs like Braden Fritz, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Jared Verse. You've got Kieran Williams, Puka Nacua. I believe all of them, if not most of them, are still on rookie deals. And of course, Matt Stafford is still a pretty good quarterback. Maybe not quite what he was maybe when he first joined, but I think you've got Devontae Adams there, who I think is going to be really good. As a second or third choice now, not a first choice. I think he's going to be good for them. And Sean McVay is, I said it before, my favourite ever NFL head coach, and I think he is one of the best coaches in the league in general, across the whole division, the whole NFL. So, yeah, for me, this Rams team, if Stafford is fully fit, then I think they're going to be brilliant. I do think in week 1 we're going to see probably a lot more of Kieran Williams. I do think that if anyone is doing this kind of fantasy leagues where it's weekly lineups, I do think Kieran Williams might be the guy to pick because I think they're going to run the ball a lot. They're probably going to try and preserve Stafford's sort of action in this game. I do think they're going to probably for the first few weeks just bed him in, don't give him too many attempted passes and things like that. So. Yeah, I think the Rams win as well. I think the Texans are a good team. I love CJ Stroud, but I think the Rams are just overall a far better team. Jonny, how are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points that you've both made. I've also picked the Rams to win this game. I think based on the fact that the main strength of the Rams, I think, is their pass rush and the defense. And I think the Texans' offensive line has gone through a little bit of a transition. And if you look at some of the names on there, there's quite a bit of inconsistency. So I'm intrigued to see how the Texans line up this on Sunday. There is some question marks. I think, like I've said, the offensive line. We don't know who's going to be starting at running back for the Texans. So, CJ Stroud, there was some struggles and regression in second year. I don't think they are, they will come to pass too much this year. I think he's, still a very, very good quarterback. But yeah, I like what the Rams have done this year. I think Devontae Adams to the Rams has got a lot of noise, but I think for good reason. He's going to open up, so much room, I think, for Puka Nacua, and in those one-on-ones, he's one of the best players in the league still to do that for Matt Stafford. So I think the concerns around Stafford, I'm sort of taking with a little bit of a pinch of salt because of what's around him. Really excited to see what the Rams can do. I can't see anything other than a Los Angeles win, especially at home against the Texans.
Well, you mentioned excitement. Nothing is more exciting than Sunday Night Football this week as the Bills host the Ravens. This is a game we did an episode with Ben Isaacs in the off-season, our top 10 games look forward to the most this season, and this was our number 1, Ravens-Bills. It's such a good game. You've got two teams who are in similar sort of positions, have great quarterbacks, MVP quarterbacks, but can't quite get over the line when it comes to beating the Chiefs in the playoffs and making a Super Bowl. I do think it's a matter of time for both of them to make one. But they're both in that same mindset. Can we this year get the monkey off our back and beat the Chiefs or just make a Super Bowl? So this could have a massive bearing because this could be the difference between you're the first or second seed or you're the second or the third seed. I think both teams are going to be right up there come December, January time. So, yeah, interesting. Already in week 1, we got some must-win games, and this is definitely one of them. Jonny, back with you. Who wins it for you, Ravens or Bills?
I agree. I think them and the Eagles are probably the 3 main contenders going into the new year. But I think the Ravens have the most complete team out of the 2. They have the 2-time MVP, Lamar Jackson. They've now got a well-established wide receiving room, running backs, offensive line. They've added on defense, and Jair Alexander joined into the secondary, so they've improved. They've got brilliant head coaches in Harbaugh, and I think, we saw how good Lamar was last year, and I think he can build on that going into the new season. Agree with you on this being, already laying down the gauntlet sort of game. I think, like I say, I think that the on paper the Ravens are a more complete team. They have more depth. I see fewer concerns on their team than on the Bills. Even with the game being in Buffalo, I think the Ravens can cause a bit of a stir and get a win on the road.
Of course, I'll be eager to make up for that divisional round loss in last season, where, of course, Mark Andrews dropped the chance to win this game for Baltimore. Freddie, for you, who wins it, Bills or Ravens?
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens tend to not do great at the opening games and start of the seasons, and I think this feels like a bit of a trap game for them, where they lose and people are like, "Oh," but really, you're like, "No, nothing bad's going to happen. It's okay. The Ravens are fine." I think the Bills are going to be really, really good this season. I just think it's a really great matchup. Like, what a fun way to sort of nearly cap off our opening NFL weekend. Obviously, we have the Monday night game as well, but the late into Sunday into Monday, it's going to be an absolutely electric game. But the Bills have strengthened themselves as well. We're saying about the Ravens have strengthened and brought in guys. They've Joe Bosa is now over at the Bills. They've made some additions. They've got some very good wide receivers. I still think they may be struggling for the guy, but Shakir's really good wide receiver. They'll be hoping that Keon Coleman can kick on. They're putting Josh Palmer. James Cook is just, he's electric, isn't he? And I'm not going to go on about the Ravens players. We know how electric they all are and how good their defense is. But yeah, it feels like too easy to say the Ravens will win this. I'm going Bills.
I've gone for Bills as well. I just think that not only is it the home factor, but also it's their final season at Highmark. I think they're going to win all but one or two of those games. If not, they could go the whole season unbeaten at home. I just think that the fans are going to be really up for it. Their final season at Highmark, they're going to be really, really eager, I think, as a fan base. We talked about it on the Bills season preview about how they want that last game ever at Highmark to be the AFC Championship, and they're beating the Chiefs or beating someone else and making it there. I just think that, they've got to play the Chiefs and the Eagles and Ravens, but the rest of their games are really favourable. They've got the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Falcons. They've got Buccaneers, Bengals. So there's a chance there's some hard games granted. But I just think this Bills team's going to be really eager to make it one final year. And I do think they're going to have the number one seed in the AFC. I do think that they're going to be, I think Patriots, Bills, Jets are going to be three teams that are going to be not anywhere near the Bills level this season. I don't think any of them are anywhere near the kind of the quality, the depth that the Bills have. And for me, I just think that, whoever's home in this game wins. I think if the Ravens were home, I would say the Ravens would win. I just think, Highmark Stadium, their final ever season there, they're going to be so loud, those Bills fans. They're loud already. Adding the fact that they got one last year at this stadium, I think the Bills are going to be so hard to beat at home this year. But finally, is a game on Monday Night Football which involves two quarterbacks that were taken in last year's draft. One who was the first overall pick and one who was 9th, but missed the entire of the season due to a meniscus tear, as Caleb Williams takes on JJ McCarthy. I've gone for the Bears winning. I do think if this was a week 13 or week 14 game, or even the game that they have in Minnesota in a few weeks' time, I'd have the Vikings winning. But I just think that McCarthy's going to need time to bed in. Just come back from an injury. It's not as if he's just come out of college and he's fine. He's come back from an injury as well. And I just feel like with the Bears, I still think they'll finish 4th in their division, but just think week 1 against a quarterback who will be, adjusting to a new system, his first ever NFL game in Soldier Field as well. Give me the Bears to win. Fred, Bears or Vikings?
I'm gonna go Vikings. You say about it, JJ McCarthy and that, but you got to remember this Vikings defense is really, really good. I thought that one of the biggest wins this offseason was the Minnesota Vikings keeping Brian Flores, and the fact that he's not a head coach is just outstanding. It's astonishing. I know he was a head coach in Miami, but he's really transformed this Minnesota defense. And I really like the Ben Johnson hire to Chicago. I think it will take a minute. I think they will be better than they were last season. But I do agree. I think they will finish fourth again in the division. But we're going to see a better side of it. I think it'll be one of them teams where they will have a losing record, but you go, you know what, we lost. I think you can win in the wrong way and lose in the right way with the NFL. And, well, you can lose in the right way and lose in the wrong way, I suppose. So I think the Vikings win this. It may not be like a convincing win, but I think the Bears still need to have a bit of a moment to find out who they're going to be. Whereas I think the Vikings know who they are. They know what style of team they are. And Kevin O'Connell was a fantastic head coach. And Ben Johnson is hopefully going to be a really good head coach, but we're going to have to wait and see on that and for him to find his feet.
Jonny, Bears or Vikings?
This was a really tough one for me because I think there are, a lot of unknowns in this one. I'm going to pick the Vikings just based on, I think, a lot of the points that Fred's made just there. I think, the ability that the Vikings have on defense is a huge, talking point for this game. Both quarterbacks, we're not sure what to expect. We've never seen JJ McCarthy at NFL level, and Caleb Williams struggled per se. I think it was a decent rookie year. He has to take his game to the next level, and I think Ben Johnson is definitely the right sort of hire to make that sort of thing happen. The offensive weapons for Chicago, by the way, are looking very, very exciting, particularly in that wide receiver room. So, this could go either way this way, but I'm going for the strongest asset of the two teams, which is the Vikings on defense. So I think they can hold out whatever the Bears throw at them.
Yeah, one man to look out for is Luther Burden, who is a rookie that I'm very excited to see how he does. But there we are. That is the end of our predictions. We've, in the end, gone for 6 different outcomes differently to each other. So we've all gone for wins for the Eagles, the Bucks, the Dolphins, Raiders, Cardinals, Panthers, Broncos, Seahawks, Rams, and Bills. Whereas me and Jonny went for the Chargers, Freddie went for the Chiefs. I went for the Browns, Jonny and Freddie went for the Bengals. Me and Freddie went for the Steelers, whereas Jonny went for the Jets. Myself and Jonny went for the Commanders, whereas Freddie went for the Giants. I went for the Packers, as did Freddie, whereas Jonny went for the Lions. And myself went for the Bears, whereas Jonny and Freddie went for the Vikings. There we are. That is the end of our Week 1 preview. First of all, Jonny, Freddie, thank you for coming on.
Cheers, man. I appreciate having me on, Andy.
Appreciate it, Andy. Thank you. It's been great to preview the games and look forward to it all following.
Absolutely, and looking forward to seeing both of you in London in just a few weeks, and maybe even Dublin. But this has been the conclusion of our Week 1 preview on the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I have been, as ever, your host today, Andy David, with our guests in the franchise tags, Freddie Hall and Jonny Bisby, and we'll see you guys for our Week 1 review. Take care.